We love featuring artists you should know about. Today we're heading to Arizona to chat with Ryan from Little King, a progressive rock band that started way back in 1996. 8 albums, a couple singles later. Little King brings dynamic, melodic, progressive micro epics fresh to your ears. Their latest album, well, I'll probably below this, Lente Vivente, is out now. We're stoked to have vocalist guitarist Ryan Rosoff on the show. First, Ryan, thanks so much for coming on.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Jeff. And you got about 85% of that pronunciation, so I'll give you credit. I know you're kind of far up north there, but it's Lente Viviente is what it is.
Lente Viviente.
There you go, just like it looks. Exactly.
See? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about the title of the album here, but boy, reading through your guys' bio, it's been like a different lineup or almost about every album, kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
How did you find, now David, you knew him. Tony, your new drummer, you met on a message board. Was he in Arizona? Where did it all start to come around?
Yeah, so he has family in Tucson, but he originates from a place called San Carlos in Mexico, which if you look at the map, it's about, I'd say 5 hours south, maybe about 3 hours south of the border. So he has family here. He had been coming back and forth, and I had actually never met him. As you said before, Dave and I have been friends for a while, and he actually has contributed string arrangements to the last couple albums, as well as played live with us on some dates here and there. So I had been playing with Eddie Garcia, who's been the drummer in Little King for, going almost 20 years, but he lives in El Paso. We recorded some demos. I kind of was feeling like it was time for a change again. So yeah, we had a lot of lineup changes, but Eddie's been consistently with me basically since 2004 behind, as the engineer, and then as a drummer since 2008. So just felt like time for a change. And I met Tony. We hit it off. He's such a cool dude and so mellow and such an excellent instrumentalist and musician that, it was pretty much instant chemistry between the three of us, to be honest with you.
Well, you said, I saw an article where you said Tony played at Red Rocks. Who was he playing with at Red Rocks?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's on his resume. I wish he was here, Tony. But his as interesting as that is, and Radio City as well, his professional career as a busker in New York City is really fascinating. I wasn't super familiar with the process as to how that all works, but you actually have a quite formal audition process. I think submitting a tape of or a video of you playing, as well as having an actual formal audition for a board of selection, committee selection. And so he played in subways at an appointed time, appointed days, and different parts of the subway in Manhattan, and actually made quite a good living. Honestly, he's made more than he's making now with me. I can tell you that for sure.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. I would have never imagined that you have to go through a process to do it. You just don't go set up in the subway and start banging away.
I think in Tucson, you just go set up, or in Sheridan, I think that's where you are.
Yeah.
Right? In Sheridan, we just go set up, on the corner. But yeah, in New York, it's a whole different ballgame.
Wow, that's incredible. We learned something there. You mentioned El Paso because you recorded like everything in El Paso. This time you recorded it in Tucson, right?
That's right. I lived in El Paso off and on basically since 1992. Had a little bit of a gypsy existence. I seem to get the 5 to 7 year itch and need to bail. But I left Seattle in 1990 for Tucson for college. And I just was sick of the rain. I mean, I'm sure you can't relate at all up there to being sick of the cold. But I came down here because it was the first school in the sun that accepted me. And so since 1990, I moved around quite a bit and had a couple stints in El Paso, which is a very odd, weird, lovely, crazy place. There's a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of dynamics, which we can get to a little bit later in terms of the international border being right there. But I settled there and got married there a couple times, had a couple kids there, or at least I caught them. I didn't actually have the children. Graduated from UTEP, which is the university there is about 20,000 students. So I do have a lot of connections and ties there. So even though I didn't grow up there, it does feel like home. But one thing led to another, and I was just sick of the commute, man. It's a 4.5 hour drive from Tucson east to El Paso, just straight shot down I-10 and then back. And I've just been doing it so often. And actually my daughter still lives there. She's grown now. So it was nice to be able to go back and visit her all the time as I was recording. But like I said, it's just enough is enough, man. I was just sick of the drive, sick of the commute, and all the facilities, all the things that I needed are right here in Tucson. So it just felt like time to not do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, and you write all the music, you write all the lyrics. How was it different this time bringing these two guys in, especially Tony bringing a whole new dynamic behind the drum kit?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's different and everybody brings something to the table. Particularly, you get to a certain level of musicianship and experience, you really become yourself on your instrument. And so I have had enough experience in my lifetime of playing, obviously, as you mentioned, bringing different people in every couple albums. And so I really sort of didn't know what I was looking for. And I kind of left it open and sort of like, well, I'll know when I hear it. I met Tony and he was just here for a few weeks, visiting his sister and doing some work. And so when I sat down, I finally jammed with him for the first time. There was this whole groove that we had never really experienced in this band before, and so it brought on new life to these compositions. I don't want to say, be cliched to say that there was more of like a Latin groove to it, because that's not really what it is. He's sort of a jazz drummer, but he's sort of a progressive rock drummer. He does have a little bit of that Latin feel to it, so he brings just this kind of crazy amalgamation of different styles. But as the composer and as the writer, I know every nuance to every beat and every passage. And so to hear kind of the things that he was bringing to the table, I never would have been able to dream up those parts or that feel to it, because it's just not my background or experience. And that's honestly, Jeff, is the beautiful part about having all these different musicians who've all become friends over the years in my band, is they just bring something a little bit different to the table than I never would have been able to capture otherwise. And I'm really grateful for Tony and for Dave for being able to bring that to the table.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you still have contact with some of the old guys that were in the band? I mean, do they still
All of them.
you play them the new stuff or give them a little sneak peek?
All of them. I mean, some of them are a little more sensitive to it than others. I have, my dearest friend, one of my dearest friends, I would call him my best friend. We call him Uncle Shannon. And he was a bass player for the second and the third album,
Yeah.
Time Extension in 98 and then Virus Divine in 2004. And he's real sensitive, man. When he wasn't able to make an album with us in 2008, he had other obligations, and I kind of had to move on from Shannon as my bass player. We've stayed best friends. As a matter of fact, we just got tickets to the Rush show, the second LA show for their new tour. We spent far too much money, by the way, on those seats. But yeah, he won't listen to anything, dude. Like, he is not interested in hearing any new Little King. But most of the rest of the guys, Manny Tejeda was a bass player on the last 3 albums, or 2 albums and a couple singles, and he's much more open to it. He's not quite as butthurt as Shannon is, for sure. But yes, I mean, the short answer is I maintain relationships with all these dudes. They're all great people. That's why I brought them in the first place, is because the chemistry personally is everything. It translates live. It translates directly to the record. And if you're not sharing some common bonds outside of just the constraints of music or the confines of music, I find it to be a little bit forced. And so we have a natural connection anyway. So for the most part, Uncle Shannon notwithstanding, I have great relationships and continue to share music and send them tidbits and previews and really honestly value their feedback, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're chatting with Ryan from Little King. Go check them out there at littlekingtunes.com. They're on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Spotify. The new album, Lente Viviente, I'm getting there, is out now. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it anywhere it's streaming. Well, this Living Lens Memories is your day job. I mean, this is really cool. And the album title, what Lente Viviente is, what, Living Lens in Espanol, or what? Yeah, in Spanish.
Yep.
Tell us the story about how this came about. This is cool.
Yeah, so I oddly enough ran a corporate team building business in Silicon Valley for about 14 years. Even though I didn't live there for most of that time, I was the CEO and the co-founder from a million miles away. And so finally exited that business and sold my stake in it back in early in 2024. But as much as I am a musician, I'm equally an entrepreneur. I love startup businesses. I love ideas. I love the energy of being in a startup. I think it works quite nicely in tandem with creating music. The themes of the music that I've created throughout the years have always been reflective of whatever it is that I'm going on, I have going on in my life, whether it's current events or whether it's just my personal situations. And so I decided with a friend of mine here to video my mom on her 80th birthday. And my mom and I are quite close. She lives here in Tucson. Actually moved here during the pandemic to kind of be closer to her. She's 82 now, so she's older. She's doing fine, but she needs a little bit of help. So in any event, I really wanted to document her stories. And so my son and my daughter were actually present as we were interviewing her. And boy, I mean, Pandora's box opened up with my mom. And even my kids were like, damn, Dad, I had no idea. I'm like, I told you. she wasn't always just mom, it's not how it works. And so, the light bulb, the proverbial light bulb went off. It's like, gosh, I live in a retirement city, and Tucson is quite heavily populated with
Yeah.
65 and over, as is, Phoenix North and Scottsdale and all the outlying communities in the valley. So it seemed like a good business idea, and it's just a wonderful way to preserve the legacies of folks who have a lot to say and who will never know probably their great 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 grandchildren. And legacy is an interesting concept, and there's some ego involved with it. At least some people feel that way. But the bottom line is, I wish that my kids could have seen my grandparents and met my grandparents. I had close relationships with them, and they're gone. I mean, they're gone forever. There's no video, there's no audio.
Wow.
It's just left for me to kind of describe how they were, and to relay their stories as best I can. They were born in 1912, so they were long gone by the time, my second child was born in 2006. And so really in an effort to preserve legacies. And if my son could have just seen my grandfather, they have the same mannerisms, even sort of some of the same inflections. And every once in a while I look at it, I'm just like, damn, he would have loved you or he would have hated you, depending on what's going on. But it's really, genetics is undefeated, right? No matter
Yeah.
what your environment is. And there's just certain things I wish he could see that'll be gone. And so I want to do my part to bridge that gap for people as they grow older. And it did lead to, the themes of the album, which I'm sure we can get into in a little bit. But yes, the living lens, the filters by which we all see ourselves, whether it's through experience or whether it's through DNA or whether it's through the vision and the lenses of other people looking back at us. All these things were fascinating to me. So there's a lot of fodder to create lyrics from what it is that I was going through professionally in the last year.
Well, yeah, and then even interviewing the people gives you different ideas. Or
Amazing, man. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, and
crazy.
everybody's like, why haven't I done that for my parents? And I'm like, I don't know. Why haven't you done that for your parents?
Yeah. Well, I saw a comment where you said that your mom was kind of a private person, and then when you started interviewing her, all these stories were coming out that you didn't even know about, which is crazy. Yeah.
She's a character. Yeah, and she's really sharp too. She's got the blessing of still having all of her faculties at age 80. She's almost 82 now, 81 and a half. Physically, maybe not so much. It seems like one or the other starts to go in your late 70s, early 80s for a lot of people. So she's fully aware of what's going on with her health, and she's irritated sometimes because she can't quite physically do the things that she mentally is capable of at least conceptualizing or visualizing. So she really is a good storyteller. Kind of on the down low too, Jeff. Like if you meet her, she is, I wouldn't say formal, but she's not always the most outgoing. She's an introvert. She's really kind of keeps to herself and is private, but I think she saw this as an opportunity, particularly with my kids sitting there, to tell some stories, some things that she thought were important, that the people that she will never meet again down the line, or ancestrally, will have a better sense of who she really was. And you can't get that through photographs. You can't get that through the written word. The inflections and the gesticulations and the tone of voice and the laugh and the smile and the dimples and the eyes and the crow's feet. All of those things are inherent to our personalities, and they say so much more than just audio or just the written word. And so I'm thrilled that we were able to capture that and that we're able to do it for other people as well.
Yeah. Go and check Ryan out at Living Lens Memories. You can check him out. He's on Facebook. Go check him out there. Is your closet just full of jerseys?
The answer is yes. Yes.
On your personal Facebook page, I'm like, every picture he's in a jersey. I mean, you're in Arizona, so it's nice, but
it's a thing. Well, first, yeah, it's 12-month jersey weather down here, so that's the first nice thing. But yeah, I was a basketball player growing up. I was obsessed with basketball. I grew up in Seattle, as I said, in the 70s and the 80s, and the Sonics were a thing up there for sure. They ceased to exist, I believe, in 2006 and moved to Oklahoma City, which still hurts my heart. But yeah, I played a lot of ball growing up, and as I got to be 16 or 17 years old, I realized I'm 5'7" and Jewish, and it's probably the NBA probably wasn't in the cards. Half Jewish, so maybe it was half possible. But I just have been collecting jerseys ever since, and they're super comfortable to wear. It's great stage apparel. I'm freed up. Playing music in a band is an active pursuit. It's not a sedentary activity. And so it's nice to have the freedom to be able to do it. And as I said, it was 87 degrees today here. So all good as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, that's crazy. Let's talk about the album a little bit. Catch and Release, you said catch and release. We all know that if you live in Wyoming, Montana. You were fishing in Montana? Where at?
Yeah. So the backstory to that, Jeff, is that since 1979, my family was going to Montana to stay for weeks at a time to fish and to just kind of chill. So my grandparents were from Los Angeles, also where my dad grew up, and to escape LA, essentially, especially during the summertime, they would go to Montana. And so we spent a ton of time in the 70s and all through the 80s fishing all of the rivers, some in Wyoming, but mostly in Montana. So we had a house in Paradise Valley, kind of near Livingston, Montana, very, very near and overlooking the Yellowstone River. So
Wow.
spent just a ton of my childhood fishing the river, and also up in Big Timber and McLeod. There's the Boulder River up through there, and certainly the Bighorn. The Tongue is down by you, right? Sharon,
Yeah.
I've yet to do that one, but um, it's just a memory that I hold really dear, and something that I still try to do when I can with my dad. He's also older. He lives in Washington State still. He's in Seattle, but we fish the Yakima River there. And so I went for my birthday last year to fish with my dad. And it was just such a beautiful kind of reconnection between the two of us to be able to fish and relive those memories that are literally almost 50 years old now. And I love fly fishing. I can't think of a better way to spend a day. I don't get to do it enough. There's very little fly fishing down here. There's a little bit in New Mexico and some in northern Arizona, but it's not what you and I would consider the real deal, where you're wading or you're fishing from the bank or you're working a
Yeah.
riffle, things like that. So it was just it was I mean, catch and release is a metaphor. It is an immigration metaphor, which is one of the through lines that runs throughout this album. But more than anything, it really is just a song about fishing with my dad in odd time. And the song was composed in 7/8 with some different passages and a little bit different time signatures. But it's sort of that rhythm of fishing from, false casting and fishing and kind of trying to find that rhythm where you can get, you get that right cast, get that line just in that perfect spot where it's just behind the fly, and the fly is leading it down, and all of a sudden you're waiting, and boom, that dry fly gets swallowed. And there really isn't any feeling. It's hard to describe it to somebody who's never done it, but I miss it. I love it, and it felt like it was time after 8 albums to write a song about fly fishing, so I did.
Yeah, it's a good one too. And you said it's one of your guys' heaviest songs ever.
I would say it's the heaviest song on this album. I mean, I think I was maybe a little angrier and a little louder back in the day. I think I've learned some restraint over time. I'm just not that pissed anymore, dude. So it's a little different now. But it certainly seems to, the subject matter and the music maybe don't necessarily match up in terms of it's kind of a heavy forward, driving rock song, about fishing. So I'm not sure. Maybe think about songs about fishing. It's Billy Strings has a song called Catch and Release, and there's some others. But yeah, it's a pretty heavy song. It's certainly, as we're playing it live, we're just in rehearsals now as we're getting prepared to tour next year. It's a bear, man. It's a really hard one to play live. I a lot of times, most of the time, I write the song, all the music first, and then I go back once the songs are recorded musically, and I fit the lyrics to them. I start to write words to music that's essentially already completed. Little did I know with this one is like I didn't quite write it to make it easy on myself. So there's a lot of cussing myself out in rehearsal over the last couple of weeks. It's been a heck of a ride. We're getting there. I'm not there yet, but we're definitely getting there.
Yeah. What was I thinking?
What was I thinking?
When
I wasn't
wrote this,
thinking.
I wasn't thinking exactly. I wasn't thinking about playing it live. That's for sure. Go check out Little King. They're at littlekingtunes.com. They're on Facebook, Instagram, X. Go to YouTube, watch their videos, Spotify. You can listen to the brand new album. Lente Viviente is out now. Sweet Jesse James. This is about your girlfriend. Are you guys move-in official now? Are you guys living together now?
Yeah, she's right down the hall in her own Zoom as we speak.
How hard is it? I mean, how much pressure? Did you tell her that you were writing this song? Was it a surprise? Yeah. What?
So the backstory, I'm going to be saying that a lot today. The backstory is that I wrote a song called Amber Waves Goodbye in 2023. That was the last single that we released before this album. And it was about an ex-girlfriend. It was a girlfriend at the time. It was about a breakup. And so it only seemed fair to be with the woman that I'm currently with, who I love dearly. And she's an amazing person, absolutely. I'm in way over my head, with her for sure. I don't know what she sees, but in any event, I had a piece of music that I felt would be appropriate for the sentiments that I'm expressing in that song. And there's a lot of inside language, inside jokes between Jessica and I in that song, but Jessica and me in that song. But The bottom line is no pressure. I was just like, I think you're really gonna like it. I happen to really like it. I think it's a great song, and it definitely brought tears to her eyes. A little trickle as she heard it for the first time. So I guess it worked. I guess it worked. We're still together.
Yeah.
We're doing great. So it seems to have furthered the relationship in a way that I had initially intended, which is great.
Yeah. Well, and you're in Arizona. Who's illegal? Well, you mentioned El Paso. I mean, you've been around it forever before the last 4 years. I mean, we've always had some kind of immigration. I mean, where do we stand with this song? Who's illegal?
So my studio is downtown in Tucson, and again, for those who aren't totally familiar geographically, Tucson's about 90 miles north of the border, whereas El Paso, where I lived for 16 years, is literally three frisbee tosses from the border. We used to walk over in the 90s all the time. You go, you drink and drown, you eat all you can, drink all you
Yeah.
can for $10, then you walk back. That's long gone. People don't do that there anymore because Juarez, which is the city, Juarez, Mexico, is the city on the other side of El Paso, became quite dangerous in the late 2007, 2008. The cartels kind of split and fighting for territory. So uh, I've been privy to a lot of the issues on the border, both in El Paso and then here. Certainly see on a daily basis at my studio the fallout of the fentanyl crisis, which is very real, and I see it every day. The homelessness in the particular street that my studio is located on downtown is rough. It's near the bus station. There's a lot of transient population there, a lot of homelessness, a lot of addiction, but we hear a lot about immigration here, particularly from people who are 2,000 miles away from the Mexican border. It's always interesting to have people in New York and in Minnesota lecture me on how we should deal with the border crisis when I'm living it and seeing it every day. So the song was born basically of three perspectives. The song, it changes perspective. The narrator changes three times in that song. At the beginning, it's from the perspective of someone who's a native here, but perhaps Anglo, that was born here and lives here and has no problem with Hispanic people or immigrants per se, but doesn't feel that they belong here. And then the second narrator is sort of the resistance, the ones that are saying, hey, everybody belongs here. Time is such a relative thing and it's so subjective. People that were 150 years ago, 10 generations of people weren't illegal at all. This is an arbitrary border that was written, and there's not even a river between the Arizona and the Mexican border. And then the third, of course, is the most important, the third perspective, which is the immigrants themselves, which are like, hey, I'm caught up in this. My family used to live here. We tilled this land 2 or 3 or 400 years ago. So I wanted to start the conversation. I want to start the conversation from a place of experience and empathy, but also someone, I don't feel like I have all the answers. I'm not that smart. I'm not that schooled in the political ramifications of all the different legislation that's being bandied about and thrown around. But I do know where the crisis is, and it's a human crisis. It has nothing to do with where your parents had sex, dude. It
Yeah.
really doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I am thankful as heck that my parents decided to conceive me in California, but I didn't have any choice. I wasn't like in utero and like, yeah, I really think I'd like to be an American citizen. It had nothing to do with me. It's just the roll of the dice, right? The luck of the draw. So I want people to approach this with information, but also with a sense of empathy and understanding that the timeline has changed here so many times in the last 300 years in terms of who owns this land. And of course, at the end of the day, nobody owns the land. It's going to outlive us all.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, check it out. It's track 3 off the new album, Who's Illegal. Well, Pass Through Filters. I mean, you've been through it all, Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to be at like the highest point of your life right now. I mean, when you read about you, you've been through addiction, been through a couple marriages. I mean, are we on cloud nine right now?
Humbly feeling good. Um, you know that we are oftentimes at the mercy of circumstances beyond our control, particularly as it relates to a family member or things in the world that I have no control over that have direct or indirect, effect on myself. But as we age and we get older and we thoughtfully and hopefully humbly are able to examine our past and the consequences of our actions, we realize that for the most part, we're in charge of our own happiness and the things that happen to us. They're really almost always the direct result of choices that we've made. And so as I've cleaned up my choice making and I have learned to breathe through things and not be so impetuous and approach things with a little bit of humility and a little bit more patience, I'm definitely in a better place internally. I mean, when you say addiction, I definitely had issues with alcohol. I was a drinker, man. You know, I mean, there's no question. And I don't know how much you know about El Paso, but there's not much else to do there. And
Yeah.
I ran around with a pretty hardcore crew of, dudes and bands and playing a lot of metal and hardcore shows and things like that. And so it's just unfortunately comes with the territory in that side of my life and that part of the business. So I easily quit once I got a terrible DUI in Delaware. Far too drunk to be driving. And I mean, you can always lie and say, "Oh, I just got caught this time." I mean, come on, man. We all know that when you get caught, it's the 100th time you've done it. And
Yeah.
so I got slapped in the head pretty good, and I needed it. Fortunately, no one was injured. I'm so grateful that no one got hurt or there wasn't any damage, but it was a real wake up call. And so that has kind of pushed me into different areas of my life that need to be examined with a very, we talk about the living lens, and the lens of honesty and forthrightness. And sometimes we have the most difficult time being honest with ourselves. And so I really challenge myself all the time when I'm in the middle of a situation. It's like, what are you actually doing? What are the real motivations? How are you conducting yourself in this particular situation? And for me, it's lent some clarity, and it's absolved me of some of my past responsibilities and things like that, but it also lets me know that I'm on the hook all the time and I am the product of my choices. And so as the choices have become better, man, so have my circumstances in life, and so have my circumstances in the band, and the music is now better because we're more honest and we're sober. And so all of these things have led to a place in my life where, yeah, I'm good, dude. I'm really good. And I'm humbled again to the fact that things can change very quickly. We all know that. You're at the age now where I'm at the age now where we've lost friends and we've lost family members, and we've seen whether it's addiction or just disease or just circumstances, have taken a lot of my friends, to be honest with you. I'm
Yeah.
53 now, and as I got into my late 40s, with all the friends I've got all over the world, because I'm that guy, I'm starting to lose quite a few of them, unfortunately. And so, that it can happen. You know that it's already happened. So I'm just grateful to be sitting here talking about my music with my friends that I've created with somebody that I've just met. And it's really cool. And I'll never again fail to appreciate how cool it actually is.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Who mixed this thing? I listened to this thing with my headphones last night, and it's crazy listening to it. And then like one of your older songs came on, and I was like, holy cow, you can really
Yeah.
tell how this new album just sounds amazing.
Yeah. So we've been through a lot of that, had different engineers and different mixing engineers. The same guy that mixed the last album, Daniel Salcido. The last album was called A Muse to Q, which also I think sounds really good. That's from 2021. Uh, Different engineer this time, though, a guy named Ricky Washer, who again is here in Tucson. First time we haven't recorded in El Paso. So we took our time. I had a very clear sense of direction and how I wanted it to sound. And I think more than anything, I've learned also through time to allow space for things to breathe, particularly lyrics and vocals. A little bit more space creates better tension and better dynamics in the music. And so I think the tracks were better as they were recorded, and it made the job of Daniel and of course I'm involved in all, every aspect of the process, but I let Daniel run with it, and then we finalized the mixing. He's out in Los Angeles. So Daniel did the mixing, Ricky did the recording, and then a guy named Mayor Applebaum, who is an absolute character and one of the greatest mastering engineers in the world. Literally, he's the man. Did the mastering. And so, you know, there's loudness wars, which I know you're familiar with. Everybody's trying to be louder than everybody else. Everybody's trying to smash you in the face with their music, and they think the dynamics mean loudest loud and softest soft. There's so much space to fill in between. But I think, as I said, through the composition process and having done this so many times and trying to avoid some of the past mistakes that I've made just in the learning process, understanding that the space in between makes the different instruments and particularly the lyrics stand out. I think that made Daniel's job as a mixing engineer a lot better. And I'm like you, I put headphones on, I listen to this thing, it's like, damn, that doesn't really sound like me, but it is. And I'm thrilled that you had that experience too. And it's been really gratifying, I think, to the whole team, everybody, how much feedback we've gotten on how great this album sounds. It's really cool to hear that, because man, I mean, when you're in it, and I live every day in it, I can't get out of my own head until that thing's basically mastered and done, you cannot be objective. You simply lose your objectivity in the process. And so you're relying on people that you trust, you're relying on the experts, you know, having your aces in your places, right, that are good at what they do. And so that's what we did, and I relied on it. And it's like, when I was able to step away, I went to Spain and Morocco with my son this summer, and I took 12 days away from the music after it was in the mixing process, and I didn't listen to a damn thing. I was like, I'm done. Can't hear another note. When I came back and we got in and we've got the final mixes, I was like, okay, this is the way it sounded in my head 6 months ago. So I'm thrilled that you had that experience too.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well,
Thanks.
we're almost out of time. The Rush, you got one of the first ones in LA. When they announce more dates, are they coming to Arizona at all?
Yeah, they're coming to Glendale, which is Phoenix.
Okay, yeah.
Phoenix. Yeah. We didn't know how many shows they're going to do. I'm a huge Rush fan. I mean, we made a record with Terry Brown, who was their producer for their
Yeah.
first 10 records. So I made a record with him as the mixing engineer in 2004. So they've been an influence and one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band, for most of my adult life. I have mixed emotions. You know, Neil Peart was the drummer and lyricist, and obviously a massive presence in
Oh, yeah.
music, even outside. So them continuing on without Neil felt a little weird, feels a little bit weird. But I trust those guys. You know, they're smart, humble, cool dudes who clearly are not money hungry. They've done just fine.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, they don't. It's not for the money. But
Nah, I mean it's really not, and I think their choice of Annika Niles as their drummer was brilliant. I mean, any white dude that you brought up on stage was going to get beat to death by Rush fans. There was no way Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater or Danny Carey from Tool was going to play those parts. They just would have been they would have been nitpicked to death. So
yeah,
to bring a woman who has a different style, who did not grow up as a Rush fan, into the fold, I'm sure she's just crushing it in rehearsals. Those guys know. I'm sure they sat down and
oh, yeah.
they gave her 5 songs. I can only imagine what 5 songs. They said, hey, learn these and let's jam in a week. And I got to be a fly on the wall. I hope they recorded those rehearsals for posterity for down the road. Hopefully they made a living Lens memoir of that rehearsal because honestly, it had to be quite an experience. But yeah, we're stoked and we'll see that. And I'm taking my daughter down to Mexico City. She's never been. I've never been to Mexico City. So we're actually going to see him down there. And then I'll probably go to the ones in Arizona. But I mean, it's costing an arm and a leg. It's not cheap
Yeah.
this time, you know, so do the best
Yeah.
we can on a musician's salary for sure.
Exactly. Well, go and check them out, Little King. They're at littlekingtunes.com. Go get the new album. Lente Viviente is out now. Ryan, thanks so much, buddy. I appreciate it.
Great talking to you, man. Hopefully get to hit a river and a riffle up there with you sometime soon. We can go beat the water.
Exactly.